Which of the two responses is faster, and explain? In question B, the response that is faster is a positive chemotaxis. Why? Because more termites moved to this petri dish C than the number of termites that moved to petri dish A. So it was faster because it attracted more termites at first. Explain each of the responses exhibited in A above. Negative chemotaxis because, negative chemotaxis because the termites moved away from petri dish B where they were exposed to sun, to light, and went to petri dish A where they were covered with aluminium foil. So that is negative. In C, a positive chemotaxis, that the termites and a lot of them moved to petri dish C because the bread's crumbs had a scent, and the scent attracted the termites to move towards petri dish C. Give the survival value of each of the responses. That is question D. The survival value of negative chemotaxis is enable the termite to escape from the predator, because in presence of light they are exposed to light. They're exposed to the predator. Therefore, they were able to run away from the predator. Chemical positive chemotaxis, the termites were able to obtain food because they moved to the breadcrumbs where they were able to obtain food. Next tactic response is thermotaxis. Thermotaxis, what is thermotaxis? A locomotory response to change in temperature. Temperature here is the degree of hotness or coldness of a place. So when the temperature increases or when the temperature is extremely low, there will be locomotory response. Termites moving away from the heat and hiding in the anthill, that one is an example of negative thermotaxis. Osmotaxis, a locomotory response to variation in pressure. Locomotory response to variation in pressure. Organisms are moving away from where the osmotic pressure is high. For example, marine crab is burrowing in the sand, where in the soil, in the water, there is high concentration of the salt. And the marine crab are moving away from high concentration of the salt, burrowing into the sand below the ocean. That is to be able to avoid dilution by the body fluid. Rheotaxis, a locomotor response to direction of the air current. Butterflies flying towards the air current. What is the significance or the importance? The air current helps them to be able to detect the scent where the nectars are found in a flower. Then they move to the place. Aerotaxis is the last tactic response, a locomotor response to difference in oxygen concentration in water. So organisms either move towards where the concentration, of course, towards where the concentration is high, for the purpose of oxygen being used for respiration. In case then they will be moving away from oxygen concentration, we will say that is negative aerotaxis. Survival value of the tactic responses. Enable organisms to escape harmful stimuli. when the salt concentration is high in marine environment, the crab is moving away. So that is a harmful stimuli. When the mosquito are flying away from an impregnated mosquito net, then they are running away from the repellent, and that is escaping harmful stimuli. Enable organism to seek favorable habitat. A crab burrowing into the sand, moving away from where the salt concentration is high in the sea, is an example. Enable fertilization to take place, that the sperm moving into the uterus, then towards the oviduct, where the ova has been conducted. So this one enables fertilization to be able to take place because the sperm is able to reach the ovum. Enable organism to avoid desiccation from excessive heat. Termites running away from where the light intensity is high is that the light intensity increases the heat, and that one will lead to dehydration or desiccation. So they are able to run away from desiccation. Enable organism to obtain food. That the termites moving towards the breadcrumbs in a petri dish is that towards the breadcrumb, they are able to obtain food. Those are the survival values. Also, we can say they are the significance or importance of those tactic responses. Tropism. Tropism is a growth response of a part of a plant in response to unidirectional stimuli. This response is different from tactic because it involves growing. And in growth, hormones referred to as auxins are involved. So a growth response of part of a plant in response to unidirectional stimuli. Unidirectional stimuli means that then the stimuli is coming from one direction. The tropic response is influenced by auxin hormones, as I've already mentioned. Compared to tactic response, it is slowly. Why? Because growth is a slowly process, starting with the release of the auxin hormone, then migration of the auxin hormone, which now as a result causes the growth. So that auxin hormone migrate to the division region of cell division, then their cells divide, and then leading to elongation and differentiation that results to that growth. So it must be able to take place. It takes a longer period of time, and that's why we say it is response is slowly compared to animal. The response is permanent. If a plant has bent towards the source of light, it is not automatic that when you remove the source of light, then the plant will stand upright the next minute. It takes a period of time because it tends to be permanent. Types of tropic responses. Types of tropic responses. We've got phototropism, chemotropism, geotropism, hydrotropism, and thick, that is THI, thigmotropism. Now, those are 5 types of tropic responses or growth response. What is, or we describe them, each one of them. Again, the tropic responses types are basing on the type of stimuli. For example, photo means light, so this is light. chemical, that is chemotropism, gravity, that is geotropism, moisture or water, that is hydrotropism, contact, that is thigmotropism. In phototropism, because then this can be an essay question, describe tropic or tropism responses. Describe tropism responses. Here it's about stating phototropism, explaining what it is, and by extension giving an example. Let's go practical. What is phototropism? A growth response. It involves growing, and that means hormone involved, to unidirectional light intensity, because the stimuli is light. Example, a plant should grow towards unidirectional source of light. A plant root growing away from unidirectional source of light. Therefore, we'll say that plant shoot is showing positive phototropism, while the plant roots are showing negative phototropism. Chemotropism, a growth response to chemical concentration. Example, a pollen tube growing towards the embryo sac. It begins with a pollen grain landing on the stigma, then the pollen grain absorbing the nutrients on the stigma, and the pollen tube starts growing down the style, and it grows up to reaching the embryo sac. The objective is for the fertilization process to be able to occur in plants. Geotropism, growth response to gravity. It is a growth response to gravity. Example, a shoot, it is a shoot, sorry, not a shot, shoot growing upwards while the root growing downward. The shoot of the plant is growing upward because the shoot is moving away from gravity. And that one we call it negative geotropism. The shoot is showing negative geotropism. The root growing downward in soil is exhibiting positive geotropism. Hydrotropism. With hydrotropism, growth response to moisture, e.g., the root grow towards moisture, indicating positive. The roots of the plant, they are anchored in the soil, and therefore in the soil, we say that they grow extending downward. Whatever they are sourcing for is water and minerals, salts. So, towards moisture, that is positive hydrotropism. While the shoot is growing away from moisture, representing negative geotropism. Thigmotropism is a growth response towards contact. Towards contact. Look at a situation where we have an object, and this object is a stick or a fetal, and next to it is a passion fruit that is growing and coiling around it. So the passion fruit is in contact with this twig or this fetal that has been placed next to it for the purpose of providing support. The passion fruit growing, coiling around the structure of other plants, they are in contact with. A simple example. Survival value of the tropic responses. Of what importance do these responses have in plants? Now, for a case like the plants growing towards the source of light, either upward if the light is coming from all direction, or sideways to where the light is coming from. The objective is that enable the plants to be able to photosynthesize. Plants reach sunlight, which they are able to photosynthesize and make their own food. Enable fertilization to take place. That is for the case of chemotropism. Chemotropism. That the pollen tube leads a pollen tube nucleus towards the embryo sac, where at a later point, the generative nucleus will be able to subdivide into two male nuclei that then fertilization process occur. So the value of that response, which is chemical response in plant, is that fertilization is able to take place. Hydrotropism. When the plant roots grow deep in soil, as they go deep, when they go deep, they are able to reach water, and water is a raw material for photosynthesis. So they are able to reach water, absorb water, and water is one used as a raw material for photosynthesis, including other roles that are important for water in plants. Geotropism. Enable plants to be properly anchored in soil. Plants grow deep in soil with their roots. This one provides proper anchorage of the roots for the plant to get support. Thigmotropism, that is a growth response to contact. This enables plants with weak stems, because like passion fruits, they have weak stems that they cannot stand on their own. So they have to be able to coil around the other to obtain support, which enable them to be able to reach sunlight for the purpose of photosynthesis, or to be exposed to agents of dispersal. Those are the survival values for these responses. Next is we have those illustrations of the responses that I've just said for the purpose of reinforcement of what I've been speaking about. So for the purpose of the reinforcement of what I've been speaking about, we have those now responses. Like here we have phototropism. Here we can be able to see plants that are growing in a container, potted plant, and they are bending towards the source of light. Next, we have this plant that is growing deep in water, and therefore that is hydrotropism. We have this plant that is bending away from gravity. The shoot is bending away from gravity and moving upward, and that is negative geotropism for the root, for the shoot. Then we have thigmotropism. This is a passion fruit that has coiled around a sisal plant as it is sourcing for support to be able to reach sunlight to photosynthesize. And then the last illustration is representing the female part of a plant, whereby it is showing us where the pollen tube, which has led the generative nucleus and the pollen tube nucleus towards the embryo sac, where now finally fertilization process has taken place. Survival value for tactic responses. As earlier I had already mentioned, therefore I don't need to repeat, about escaping harmful stimuli, enabling organisms to seek favorable habitats, enable fertilization to take place, and enable organisms to avoid desiccation for excessive heat, and enable organisms to obtain food. Similarities between tactic and tropic responses, or tropism response. Both of them enable organisms to survive. That is a similarity. Enable the organisms to survive. Both are responses to similar environment. Both are responses to similar environment, either light, either chemical, either water, and all that. Then finally, both are exposed to directional stimuli. Differences between tactic responses. Earlier, I had already done a comparison when I discussed about tactic and tropic, but we'll go through them very fast. One, tactic response is a locomotor response. Tropic response is a growth response. A simple locomotory growth. Tactic response is temporary. Tropic response is permanent. Tactic response is influenced by nerve cells. We have nerve cells that are responsible for transmission of impulse. Tropic response is influenced by auxin hormones, that are the one that causes growth. Tactic response is rapid, very fast. The response is very fast. While tropic response, it is slowly. It takes time. Thank you.